Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you've seen my videos before, thank you very much for the support. If you haven't, my name is Hayley and I run the Instagram account Hayley's Weight Loss Journey. I use these platforms just to document and speak about my experience with weight loss. If you are interested in how I lost weight via calorie counting, you can check out my previous videos on YouTube. There is a video there which does explain how I lost the 5.5 stone. But today's video, I want to talk about something that I get asked about all the time, which is my experience with intermittent fasting. Now, intermittent fasting is something that I have done over the last 2 years, but it's only been the last couple of months that I've really gotten into it, and I've done some research and I've done it to a bigger level than what I was doing before. So when I was intermittent fasting before, I kind of fell into it. I was calorie counting 1200 calories a day to try to lose weight via calorie counting, and it worked really well for me. I had great success with it. But what I was doing was I was actually only eating between 12 o'clock lunchtime and 8 o'clock in the evening. Now, I was doing that for no other reason than I don't like breakfast. I found if I was eating before 12 o'clock, I was forcing food down. And also by eating just in an 8-hour window, it felt like I was eating a lot more. Now, this is intermittent fasting. I didn't realise it at the time. I didn't really know what intermittent fasting was. But that's 16-8. So I was fasting for 16 hours and I was eating for 8 hours. And that's a very common sort of ratio that people try with intermittent fasting, especially to start off with. That's a really good one to get yourself into intermittent fasting. But a couple of months ago, I decided to take things a little bit more extreme with my intermittent fasting and to do a little bit of an experiment. If you follow me on the Instagram account, I put out that I was going to try something for 30 days. And what I tried was intermittent fasting over a 30-day period, fasting for 22 hours and eating for 2 hours. So I would fast till 6 o'clock in the evening, and then I would eat between 6 and 8. And then I would start my fasting again at 8 o'clock. And I did this for 30 days consecutively to try to see what the results were. I did it more as an experiment to see how healthy I felt after, to see any side effects, to see the benefits, and also to see how much weight I lost. Because we had just gone into lockdown. I was holding around about a stone heavier than where I like to be. I'd let myself go a little bit at the beginning of lockdown, piled on about a stone. I knew that if I carried on with this, it was going to spiral. It's quite a dangerous time for me because I'm a boredom eater, so I needed some sort of routine, some sort of schedule with my eating during the day because I wasn't doing a lot in the day being in lockdown. So I looked into intermittent fasting and I decided to give it a go. 22 hours of fasting and 2 hours of eating. Now, first of all, just to explain the weight loss results that I had, I did this over 30 days and I was eating 1400 calories a day. So I wasn't eating 1200, I was eating 1400 calories a day, but in a 2-hour window. And I actually lost 10 pounds. I was really pleased with that. I was working out as well alongside. I was just doing sort of weight circuits in a home gym that I've been fortunate enough to use at my parents', going for walks and also using the treadmill. So I was making sure that I was working out, which is why my body, there was a lot more definition on my body over the 30 days because I was making sure I worked out every single day. But in terms of the eating, I actually did drop 10 pounds, and I'm going to put the pictures up on the screen now of my before and after. So at the beginning of the 30 days, I was feeling quite sluggish. I felt very bloated. I was carrying a lot more extra weight than what I'm happy with. And you can see that by the end of the 30 days, my body totally changed. Obviously, partly that is down to the exercise. I do credit that. But as I say all the time, you can't out-exercise a bad diet. So I really do credit the intermittent fasting as well for the 10 pound loss. And also, I just felt healthier. I'll get more into the benefits. But at the beginning, I felt very sluggish. By day 30, I had a lot more energy. I felt healthier, I felt lighter. And I just felt better in myself. So the sort of science behind intermittent fasting and the benefits it comes with is something that I did a lot of research into. I'm someone who likes to research this kind of stuff before I do it to make sure I'm doing it in a healthy way and an effective way and that I can get the most out of this experiment, as I'll call it, for 30 days. And I was extremely surprised to see how many benefits there are out there, especially ones which have got a lot of evidence base behind them. Not only is intermittent fasting good for aiding weight loss, but also dropping insulin blood levels, promoting human growth hormone and cell repair. Now, intermittent fasting, the point of fasting is that after 12 hours, your body starts to enter a phase called ketosis, which is when the body starts to break down and burn fat. Now, 12 hours, when you think about it, you think, oh, 12 hours without food, that sounds like quite a while. But it's actually probably something that we all do very often without even realising. If you stopped eating at 9 o'clock in the evening, you went to bed, you slept through and you didn't eat till 9 o'clock the next morning, you've done 12 hours, so you've already entered ketosis. The point with fasting is to sort of stretch out that ketosis period, because once you hit about 18 hours, your body really starts to hit this maximum fat burning mode where it's ramping up burning the fat stores that you have and changing them into energy. So for me, with 22 hours fasting, I had sort of an extra 10 hours where I was really in this maximum fat burning mode, and I was really getting the benefits for it for a full 10 hours. So the longer that you can fast, the better, because the further you go into this state of ketosis. Now, just a little thing as well, please don't get confused with ketosis and keto. I don't follow keto. I've never followed keto. I believe that the two sort of go hand in hand, is that keto tries to get you into this ketosis state. I don't know much about keto, so I'm not going to go right into that, but don't get confused with ketosis and keto. I didn't have to cut out carbs. It wasn't high fat, anything like that. I've never followed the keto diet. I see it working for people and it's great. But what I'm talking about here is ketosis, which is a fasted state rather than changing the kind of foods that you're eating. So the way that I worked intermittent fasting into my diet for those 30 days is that I would only eat between 6 and 8 in the evening. Now, anything outside of that, I would just have water, black coffee and herbal tea, things like peppermint tea, green tea, lemon tea. I was absolutely fine with those. Just black coffee and water. I didn't add sweetener to anything. I tried not to have things like Pepsi Max, so sweetened diet soft drinks. I tried not to have any of those. The only time I ever did have something like a Pepsi Max is if I was really struggling with hunger, but most days, water, coffee, black coffee and herbal tea. I didn't have anything else outside of that. If you do your research, sometimes it will tell you, yeah, it's fine to have sweetener. It's fine to have something as long as it's under 50 calories. There's sort of all sorts of contradicting research, but for me, I didn't want to spike my insulin levels. I didn't want to risk that. If I was going to do this, I was going to do it properly. So I did stick to water, black coffee and herbal tea. Now, in terms of what I ate during those 2 hours, was I made sure I was eating 1400 calories. And I did count my calories, I did track them, and it started off tracking them to make sure that I wasn't eating more than 1400. It ended up me tracking them to make sure that I was eating 1400, because it can be quite difficult to make sure that you eat enough when you're only eating in a small window. And it is vital that you make sure that you are eating enough. Please don't ever drop below 1200 unless you've been advised to by a doctor. So I was making sure I was counting 1400 calories. And at 6 o'clock, feeding time, best time for me in the day, I would start off with my main meal. So I'd have something like a stir fry. I'm quite a fan of ready meals. I will have them for convenience sometimes, and I'll pack them out with veg. But I would have my sort of main standard meal: meat, vegetables, potatoes, maybe a pasta dish, something with rice. Usually rounds about sort of 600 to 700 calories for a main meal. So I'd have that at 6 o'clock, and it's amazing once you fasted for 22 hours, how full you feel after just one meal. Once you've got that food into you, I'd actually feel quite satisfied after having just one main meal. But I needed to make sure that I was eating enough, so around about 45 minutes later, I would have what I called my mini meal or my protein meal. And I would try to have sort of a smaller, I guess almost more like a snack. It wasn't a full meal, but a mini meal, and I would really base that around protein. So I would have something like chicken breasts, I would have egg, I would have scrambled egg or bacon, I would have hot dog sausages, I would have chicken satay, something really focused around protein. I would eat tuna on top of Rivita a lot. I'd have some cheese in there. I wasn't particularly trying to keep it low carb, but I was making sure I was focused on protein to keep me fuller for longer, and also the benefits from eating protein. So I'd have that around 6:45. Then around about 7:15, I would have my dessert and or snacks. Now, I love snacks in the evening. If you're watching TV, watching a movie, I like to have something to pick on. So whatever calories I had left, I would have something like prawn crackers are one of my go-to snacks because they're lower calorie than crisps. I would have a low-calorie ice cream or frozen yogurt, chocolate honeycomb, whatever I really fancied that I had left for the calories. But what I would do was make sure that I also got some fruits into my diet. I would make sure there was vegetables or salad with my dinner, trying to hit my fruit and veg portions for the day. But I would also have something like a bowl of strawberries or watermelon or grapes or banana. Usually more of a lower calorie fruit like strawberries, because it doesn't really add much towards your calorie count. You can have a bowl of them with sweetener and it's only going to add sort of 50 calories on or something. But I would make sure that it was a real balanced, varied diet. Now, how did I sort of fit that into my lifestyle, and how did I cope with the hunger? So to begin with, for the first few days, yes, I was quite hungry. I was going from eating 12 o'clock lunchtime to 6 o'clock in the evening. Obviously that is a difference. I'm going to feel some sort of hunger in there. But I was actually amazed at, it only took a few days for my body to really adapt and the hunger to ease. I would start not feeling hungry till about 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And it's actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, just by keeping myself busy, keeping myself active. If I was hungry, I'd go and work out, which again, great, another benefit because I'm getting some exercise in. But it was actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, and it's really difficult to explain that to someone who hasn't tried intermittent fasting. But if you have tried it and you've had good results from it, you'll understand actually it was a lot easier and a lot easier to get into the routine. Only took me a few days to get into a routine of just eating at 6 o'clock. My body got used to it very quickly. Now, hunger, I think there can be quite a misconception with hunger and weight loss. Now, I'm absolutely not saying that hunger is a good thing. There are people out there who are starving. Hunger can be tied to eating disorders when you really crave that feeling of hunger. I'm not saying that hunger is a positive thing. However, hunger, I think, is something that people need to accept with weight loss. I think a lot of people out there look for diets or look for weight loss alternatives where they're not going to feel hunger, and you find sometimes a lot of these sort of appetite suppressant pills and sort of fad diets they advertise as, you can do this without feeling the hunger, you know, there's no need to be hungry. If you are looking to lose weight because you are eating too many calories and you're having a high calorie diet, which is why you're putting weight on, you're looking to lose weight, you need to put yourself into a calorie deficit, which means chances are you're going to be eating less calories than what you were eating before, and that is how you're going to lose weight. And what comes with the territory of that is feeling hunger, and that's where self-discipline comes in, that's where willpower comes in, because you're probably going to be feeling hunger because you're going to be eating less calories. Now, when it comes to exercise and when I chose to work out, I would actually do that later on in the day, so I would wait till around about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon before I attempted to do my workout for the day. A couple of reasons why I chose to do this. Firstly, sort of the later into your fast you are, the more fat you're burning, so the more beneficial the workout is going to be to you. Also, I find that I can get quite hungry after I've worked out, so if I got up in the morning and I did my workout and then I still had another 8 hours until I could eat, I would actually find that hunger would sort of creep up a little bit more. So if I could fit my workout in with, say, doing it at 4 o'clock, I would finish at 5 o'clock. By the time I'm showered and made dinner, it's time to eat. So that was how I would sort of work my exercise into it, is that I would work out later on. In terms of side effects, any negative side effects I had, I really didn't, and I'm not saying that to try to promote this as a weight loss strategy. I'm certainly not sponsored by anybody, nobody's paying me to tell you that I enjoyed intermittent fasting and that I didn't have any bad side effects with it. Hunger, obviously, but hunger is something I've sort of learnt to accept with calorie counting as well. I'm quite disciplined, so I'm sort of okay with hunger. The only thing I'll mention is when I got my period, that time of the month, I was a lot more hungry, which is just completely normal for the first sort of 2 to 3 days leading up to getting my period. I'm always hungrier. So I did struggle for a couple of days during those 30 days when that happened. I did become a little bit of a demon later on in the afternoon when I hadn't eaten for a while. That was the only time I really struggled with the hunger. But in terms of side effects, I was okay. I don't have any to tell you about. My energy was fine. My energy was really good. I was sleeping really well at night. I think that's because I got myself into a routine. I didn't suffer anything like sickness, dizziness, lightheaded. From doing research, I've seen that that can be something that people suffer with. I think when you sort of adapt your diet and your lifestyle change, the first few days, things like that can occur because your body is just adjusting. So be mindful, you know, if you don't feel quite right just for a couple of days, give yourself a chance. Your body is adjusting and adapting from sort of one sort of lifestyle and eating right throughout the day. So if we're talking about intermittent fasting, to just eating for a smaller window, it's going to have some sort of effect on your body. If you really are struggling, if you get, anything like chest pain, anything like fainting, constant dizziness, constant nausea, you can't keep food down, anything like that, this might not be for you. It's not going to be for everybody. I say that about every weight loss strategy. What works for some people won't for others. So please keep your health in check. If this is something that you want to try, keep an eye on yourself, but do remember for a couple of days there might just be that little adjustment period. I actually didn't have any of that. I can hand on heart say I really didn't have any negative side effects apart from obviously just a little bit of hunger. So when it comes to the benefits, obviously there was the things like I did have more energy, I was sleeping better. The biggest benefit for me was actually mentally and fitting it into my lifestyle. I really enjoyed not having to make food choices all day. I think from calorie counting and from sort of changing to a healthier lifestyle in the past, I'm faced with food choices all the time. What am I going to have for lunch? Roughly how many calories are in it? Is it good for me? Is it bad for me? Should I have this? Should I treat myself to this? What's for dinner? What's for snacks? You know, how many calories have I had overall the day? And to sort of take away having to think about food all day was actually really liberating for me. Because I had the 1400 calories to eat in a 2-hour window, I could eat what felt like a lot more. and a lot higher calorie foods. So it was actually quite liberating and quite freeing to not be so concerned about what I was going to eat in those 2 hours, because I had the calories spare to do it. And that was one of the best things for me. I wasn't thinking about food all day because I was sort of in that routine and that structure of you can't eat till 6 o'clock. Okay, that's fine. So I might feel a bit hungry, but I put it out of my mind and I'm not constantly thinking about food. Even things like drink choices when I go into a coffee shop. Oh, I really would like one of these big super caramel frappe latte things that can be up to sort of 300 or 400 calories. Or should I stick with, you know, just the black coffee, which is all I need right now is some caffeine. Just taking those choices out was actually quite liberating for me, and I think a lot of people who tried intermittent fasting will understand that and be able to relate to that as well. Now, there has obviously been some debate about intermittent fasting in terms of aiding eating disorders and binge eating. As I say all the time, what works for me might not work for you. If you are struggling from an eating disorder, if you think that this could accelerate something like an eating disorder for you, don't do it. Please don't even look into it. It's not something that you need to be doing. For me, I am a binge eater, but what I've actually found, which kind of contradicts a few things, is that this has sort of helped with the binge eating. Because for me, I'd healthy eat all day, and then I'd get to the evening, which would be my hungry time, and sometimes I would think, okay, I'm really hungry now, or I wish I could have some crisps or some chocolate, and I would sort of go off into a binge that way. Whereas for me, being able to just eat between 6 and 8, which is the evening, and it's when I'm hungrier, and it's when I sort of crave these kind of naughty foods, I felt like I was not having a binge by eating within those 2 hours, because I certainly wasn't eating. For those of you who've had binges in the past, you'll know what a real binge is. But to be able to eat my calories at my hungry time and my enjoyable time really worked well with my lifestyle. And it actually kept me on track with sticking within my calories. So that's something that I found. Obviously, if it's not working for you, please don't try it. If you think there could be any danger in sort of accelerating something like an eating disorder or developing one, stay clear of it. Intermittent fasting isn't going to be for everybody. Do your research, make sure that you are doing it in a healthy way, make sure that you keep your mental health in check with it, that you keep your physical health in check, keep an eye on all of those things. For me, it has been really positive, and I'm really pleased with it. When it comes to how I've worked it in since, so I did the 30 days, that finished around about 6 weeks ago. What I do now is I do 3 to 4 days a week where I intermittent fast, and roughly 3 to 4 where I don't. I try to do it just as many days as I can, purely really because I enjoy doing it. I didn't want to go back to just eating all day because I actually quite like today is a fasting day for me. I haven't even kept count of how many fasting days I've done recently, but I know it's sort of at least half the week. But I enjoy doing a fasting day like today. I can have a big old dinner tonight and some snacks. I've sort of got into that routine where I don't feel that hungry during the day, so there's no harm in me doing these fasting days at all. So I try to do as many as I can. Obviously I have things like events, or we're in lockdown, we meet friends for picnics and things like that at the moment, so it's quite nice not to have to do it every day, to sort of have the freedom to pick and choose the days. So I can have lunch sometimes if I wake up and I think, oh, it's going to be a hungry day today, then I have the day off from it. But I try to do at least half the week, and for me it's just a bonus. Every single day that I can do it is just another good day. So I do still work it in, and that's purely really is because I enjoy it, because I enjoy fitting that into my lifestyle. It's something that I'm going to work with going forward, just sort of fitting in this intermittent fasting. I still enjoy doing just the 2 hours. If I'm not on one of the 2 hour days where I do the fasting for 22 hours and then eating for 2 hours, then I still do the 16-8. So it is still a big part of my life, and I try to do as many days as I can going forward. I hope this video has given you just a bit of an insight into my experience with intermittent fasting, how I found it and the results that I've had. Tried to keep this relatively short. I don't want to waffle on too long, so if there's anything that I haven't covered and you've got any questions, please do drop them down below. But I just wanted to share my really positive experience of intermittent fasting and the way that I got into it. If anybody is looking at trying intermittent fasting, something you're thinking about, do your research first. I don't recommend jumping straight into a 22-hour fasting every day. Work your way down, so maybe start with a 16-8, and you can work your way down. Just take a couple of hours off each day for a couple of hours extra fasting, and yeah, work into it, because 22 to 2, if I hadn't have already had a little bit of experience with intermittent fasting, I think I would have found it a lot harder. Do your research on it. Make sure if you do have any sort of health conditions, if you are pregnant, if you're breastfeeding, if you do suffer with diabetes, run this past your GP first before you start making any sort of extreme lifestyle changes to your diet. Make sure that you're doing it in a healthy way. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up. Hopefully I've been quite relatable to a few people who've tried intermittent fasting. As I say, it's just me and my experience with it. Maybe it will help somebody, maybe it'll be relatable to somebody. If you do like these videos, please hit subscribe so you can keep up to date with when I post content. If you want any further information into my experience with intermittent fasting as well, as I say, you can drop a comment below, but you can also check out my Instagram account, Hayley's Weight Loss Journey, and there's been quite a few posts on there over the last couple of months explaining my intermittent fasting. But as always, I hope you're all keeping safe and well, and hopefully I'll see you very soon in another video.